This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Which games will the Seattle Seahawks win and which ones will they lose in the 2024 season? What is going on, everybody? Good morning. We are just a week away from the start of the NFL season. We have made it to the Thursday before the games actually begin. So I'm excited. If you're watching this video, there's a very good chance that you're excited, and we're about to have plenty of stuff to talk about. But before we get there, I think it's time we ask the big question, and it's the question that we've already pondered throughout this entire offseason. But now that we know what the team is, now that we have a pretty good idea of what kind of squad we're going to have, it's time to actually put something real out there. So, with the way things sit right now, where are the Seattle Seahawks going to fall at the end of the 2024 season? Which games are they going to come home with the dub, and which ones are they going to be holding the L in? Got 17 games. We're going to go through them one by one. I'm going to give my quick thoughts, and then I'll offer up a prediction. So that is going to be today's video. This is a video that gets requested a lot, of course. A lot of people want to know about this one. Now that the preseason's over, well, here it is. Finally putting it all on the table. And how would you like to put it all on the table? How would you like to really put it all on the table and say the Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl? Well, if you want to do that, you can head on over to BetUS, the best sportsbook and casino on the internet, and bet on the Seattle Seahawks to win the Super Bowl at plus 6,500 odds. You could be a big winner if the Seattle Seahawks come through for you. So if that sounds good to you, get on over to BetUS, link in the description, and throw down a wager on it. They boast the fastest payouts in the industry, 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits, 200% crypto deposit bonus, fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process. Get on over there. Again, link in the description. Get to some gambling. Maybe throw down a wager on the Seattle Seahawks winning it all. Could this be the year? Okay, so let's get into the schedule. Before we start dissecting the games, though, I want to say I hope you like this video. If you do, click the thumbs up button down below. Helps out a lot. You can subscribe if you're new and you want daily Seahawks content. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Click the bell for notifications every time a video goes live. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. All right. So let's start with week 1 against the Denver Broncos. So this is a home game. We're playing a rookie quarterback in his first ever NFL start. We're facing a team that I follow a couple Broncos reporters. Even they said it after cutdown day. This Broncos team kind of looks like they're punting on the 2024 season. They kind of look like they're getting rid of valuable veterans. Like they got rid of Tim Patrick. They got rid of Samaje Perine. These are good players that are not part of the long-term plans. So the Broncos got rid of them because if you're not part of the long-term plans, you're not part of any plan, because short-term is just, we got to get our quarterback some experience and hopefully get out from under this massive cap millstone that we're currently under from Russell Wilson, and try in the near future, but the future is not now. So this Broncos team, even they're kind of throwing in the towel on the season already if you look at the way they're constructing the roster. Not to say they're going to tank, but they're clearly thinking about the long term. So if the Seahawks do not go out there and win against Denver in week 1, that'll be a severe disappointment. This is the kind of game that should be set up on a tee for them. Everything should be set up really well for them to do good things on both sides of the ball and get this win. So I'm going to say we beat the Denver Broncos, week 1. Week 2, we go on the road, first time this year, against the New England Patriots in Foxborough. Probably having Jacoby Brissett at quarterback and having a lot of injuries. Having a new head coach. Having not really a lot that people are excited about, it seems like. So it seems to me that New England is like Denver, probably going to be one of the softest opponents of the year. So even though it's on the road, and even though New England still does have some talent on that defense, I have to believe that this is a game that you go in and you take care of business in and you win. So that is another win for the Seahawks. They start 2-0, and that takes us to week 3 against the Miami Dolphins. Now, Miami Dolphins are already dealing with a lot of injuries, but the problem is this game is in September. So we're playing the September Dolphins. And the September Dolphins are quite possibly the greatest team in the history of the NFL. They're right up there with the 85 Bears. And there's no way we're going to be able to beat the greatest team in NFL history. So Miami, they may be coming into Seattle and throwing up 50 or 60 because that's what the September Dolphins do. So that is a loss. That is the first loss of the season. I will say there's a little bit of intrigue here if maybe it rains, because that's the one thing that beats the September Dolphins, but short of that, nah. All right, so week 4 is a Monday night game in Detroit against the Lions. Detroit obviously looking to build on a very successful 2023 season, and they get us at home on Monday night. So it's not a bad matchup for the Seahawks. This is not the kind of game that necessarily puts me just in a terrible spot mentally where I'm just completely giving up on the game before it starts, and it just feels like I'm just watching it to watch it. But at the same time, I think that Lions team has made some nice strides over the offseason. I think they're making steps in the right direction, and I think that, they're going to continue to be a really good team this year. And I think going on the road on primetime is going to be a little bit too much to overcome. So I'm going to say that's another loss. So we dropped this game to Detroit. They kept Ben Johnson, so they've got their offensive mastermind still there. So I think that's a loss. Week 5, we play the New York Giants at home. I don't think there's too much to say here. This feels like a prepared to flush season for the Giants as well. They've got some very expensive and some very costly draft misses on that team right now. Guys like Evan Neal and Daniel Jones. This is probably the end of the line for both of them unless they shock the world in 2024, which, look, I'm not going to completely rule anything out. I do think Brian Daboll's a really good coach, and I do like some of that stuff they have on defense, but they did lose their defensive coordinator, and I do think that Wink did a pretty good job with those guys last year, so that's not a small loss. And I still see a Giants offensive line that is not improved enough over what we decimated in that game in New York last season, so I'm feeling pretty good about beating the Giants. And then we got week 6. This is a Thursday game at home against the 49ers. And this is the big nut check, right? You win this game, people are going to start knowing the name of Mike Macdonald. People are going to start taking you very seriously. People are going to be like, whoa, what's going on up there in the Pacific Northwest? What's going on with those Seahawks? They got something brewing here. And that 49ers team, I'm telling you, they're not starting the season off in the best spot. They are dealing with this Brandon Ayuk stuff. They're dealing with some Trent Williams stuff. They had a lot of injuries this offseason. Got so bad they had to cancel one of their joint practices. So I'm actually starting to feel myself a little bit around this one. I think this is going to be the game where the Seahawks announce to the world that, hey, you wrote us off. You forgot about us. We made improvements over last year. We are better than we were last year. And maybe we're not as good as that Niners team yet, but we can play with them and we can beat them in the right circumstance. So I'm going to say we beat the Niners. That's 4 wins. Week 7, we get the Atlanta Falcons. So this is going to be one of those early games at 10 a.m. start in Atlanta. And that, to me, is where this gets really tough, because you're playing in Atlanta. You're dealing with that, basically, it's like a track meet. It's like a track field in that stadium, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I think it's called. That is never fun, even when Atlanta's not that good. But when you've got Kirk Cousins running that offense now, and you've got Drake London, and you've got Kyle Pitts, you've got Bijan, I think that offense, even if the Seahawks have a good defense this year, I think they'll be an okay defense. that has the potential to turn into a little bit of a barn burner. And I think Atlanta is going to be a little too much for us to handle. So I'm going to say that's another loss. So we're 4-3. Week 8, we've got a home game against the Buffalo Bills. This is kind of the make or break year for the Buffalo Bills. And I think getting this game at home is big. I think some of the losses that Buffalo has sustained on that defense is big. I think losing Stephon Diggs is also big. And I'm feeling it. I'm feeling this one, maybe a little bit more than I should, but I'm feeling like we can register another blow to the national media's narrative by getting this win against the Buffalo Bills. So I'm going to say that's a win. That gets us to 5. Week 9, another home game, this one against the Los Angeles Rams. Rams are one of the teams that had success against Mike McDonald's defense in Baltimore last season. I don't know if they have the special pill. I don't know if it was just a really good day for Stafford, but he did do well against them, so be careful. But I'm going to say we find a way to get it done and get the win. We need to start taking these W's against our division rivals here. We need to find a way to get these division rivals to stop always looking down on us, always beating down on us, and it starts here. So I'm going to say we get the win. That's 6 wins now I'm on. Week 10, that's a bye week. Not a bad bye week at all. Going to be a pretty good spot for a bye week probably. Unfortunately, it'll be really hard to take full advantage of it because the next week we play in San Francisco. By this point, you're probably going to see San Fran either with Brandon Ayuk or with whoever they got in the trade when they traded Brandon Ayuk, and they're probably going to be more settled in and motoring along, and they're going to be playing at home. So I think that's probably a loss. So that gets you to 6-4. I'd love to say that we can take advantage of the bye week and go in there and get something done, but right now I'm just not feeling it. And then we play the Cardinals at home. The Cardinals at home, I know people are kind of starting to feel like the Cardinals are going to do something this year. I don't see it. I don't buy it. So I'm going to say you take care of business against this Cardinals team. Still got a pretty lackluster quarterback out there. Obviously, they've got some fun young players that they've managed to stockpile over the last couple years, but I don't think it's enough to truly turn the corner yet. They're a little bit ahead of schedule from my perspective, but I think we get it done at home. Week 13, we play the New York Jets in New York. I think that Jets team is going to be dangerous this year. They don't need Aaron Rodgers to do that much. They just need him to be decent. They're going to have a really good defense. They should have a really nice running game with Breece Hall. Offensive line is improved. So this feels like a loss. This just feels like, you go over to the East Coast, it's 10 a.m., and you just lose a game. So we're at what, 7-5? I think we got 7-5. Week 14, you go to Arizona. Again, I'm not feeling like Arizona's going to have some resurgent season this year. I think they're still a year away. So I'm going to say that's another win. So we get the sweep against the Cardinals. So I think that gets you to, what do I have, 8-5? I think that's 8-5. Green Bay Packers. I struggle with this one. This game's at home. We always beat the Packers at home. This game is a nationally televised game. This Packers team, I mean, I don't know what last year was. Last year they were bad, and then in the second half of the year they got it together just enough to get in the playoffs. They whipped Dallas, almost beat San Fran, and now everybody's all thinking this is a juggernaut. I don't know if I'm buying it. So I'm going to go a little against the grain here and say this is a win. I think we're going to beat the Packers. I think we're going to get that done. And I think that this is going to be another one of those statement wins that puts everybody on notice. Week 17, home against the Vikings. The Vikings are an early candidate for number 1 overall pick. Bunch of injuries already, a bunch of problems that team is having. Who knows who's going to be playing quarterback at this point? We know it's not going to be McCarthy. If Darnold is still the starting quarterback by this point, he's probably tank commanding them. So we're not losing to a tank commanded team at home. At least I hope not. And then that gets us to week 17, where I kind of have a funny feeling. I just got to be real here. If the Seahawks do go into this game on a 3-game winning streak, they're going to be feeling pretty good going into Christmas. Thursday night in Chicago. I don't know. I I got a funny feeling about this one. I know the Bears are probably not going to be that good this year. They might be completely out of it by now, but I don't know. I see that Bears offense being a lot of fun and really entertaining and really interesting this year. I see Christmas, Chicago weather, snow, rain, wind, cold, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I just have a funny feeling about this one. Shane Waldron on the other sideline wanting to get a win against his former team. I'm really tempted to leave this one as a loss. I don't know. It just feels kind of something doesn't feel right to me. Something is just a little bit too perfect about the way I had the previous 3 games go, and then you're going into Thursday night football on the road in a terrible, terrible situation, going up against a team playing in Soldier Field in Christmas weather. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I'm going to say that's a surprise loss. And then week 18, I think this one kind of comes down to, is Matt Stafford playing? And by week 18, it's really hard to know, right? Like, if Matt Stafford's playing and the Rams have some need to win this game or some desire to win this game, I don't think you're going into LA and winning. But if Stafford is out because he's been hurt by this point, which, I mean, he's missed a little bit of time or a lot of time each of the last 2 years. So if Matt Stafford is out for one reason or another, maybe the Rams are resting starters, then I think you get the win. So if the Rams need it and they have their gunslinger, I think it's a loss. But that, I think, is going to be the pivot of this season between 10 wins and 11 wins. So I had 10 wins and 7 losses if the last game is a loss, which let's say that it is, because there's no reason to assume they're not going to have Stafford. But by week 18, so much weird stuff is going to happen that totally reasonable to think that a player as old and as beat up as Stafford, that has already missed a decent chunk of time in his career, may not play in that game. And it's also week 18, and who knows if they have anything to play for, etc., etc. So, assuming we lose that game, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wins. So, I think it's going to be 10 or 11 wins. That's where I have it right now. That's how I see it going down. I feel pretty confident about the destination. The road is kind of difficult to maneuver, though, right? Like, you have tough ones to call, like that Falcons game. Are the Falcons going to be good? And if they are, how much better are they going to be at home? What is Buffalo going to be this year? This is the tough stuff sometimes. But that's what I have right now. Let me know what you think. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Give me your predictions. And once again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Please remember, always gamble responsibly.